Don't tell him how bad you are. You bit an amateur wrestler's ear off during the tournament. What kind of man is that?
That was the only match I ever lost, and that was by disqualification. But it tasted damn good. Anderson! Tell him! Warn Mr. Hughes, Sabu! I don't care, honky tonk man! Virgil, you want to fight? Let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, we're keeping a close eye on the Psycho Johnny Paine.
Hello, and thanks for checking out the Indy Handshake Wrestling Podcast. I'm Paul Ponte, and I am here today with Johnny Paine.
Thank you.
Johnny, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. It's amazing to be back doing something to do with wrestling, bringing back Psycho Johnny Paine, Pitbull Johnny Paine, whatever. That's the promoter's decision. You can call me Psycho or Pitbull, but we want nothing after that. It's great to be here, man. Thank you.
How are you dealing with this quarantine and this wonderful time?
Man, it's rough, but I'm doing fine. And you know what? The virus bit us. We're going to bite it back, pull together. We have to be better and stronger when we kick this virus ass, because we have to do it for those who the virus took from us. So we'll stand together, united, bite back, fight back. We're going to be better because we have to do it in honor of those who fell for us.
Exactly. Positive energy going forward.
Thank you, Paul.
So you have been involved in independent pro wrestling for a very long time. You've been out of it for a bit, of course, but the stories live on. So we got training with Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. If you're any kind of a wrestling nerd, you know that name. You know, you were in the I believe it was, I'm forgetting the name, NWC in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Which is a promotion I didn't know too much about, and then I started researching it, and that's some pretty bananas stuff that was going on in Vegas over there. So let's get started in the beginning. Like, how did you get started in wrestling? How quickly did you realize you were going to get hit really hard? and
And
what was your journey like into the world of independent pro wrestling?
Man, I tell you, I always knew I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Growing up watching Ray the Crippler Stevens, Pat Patterson, Pepper Gomez, Alberto Madrigal, Andre the Giant, Chris Taylor, Haystacks Coutu, watching Roy Shire's promotion. So announced by Alan Bolte, my good friend of 30 years now. I called Earthquake Ferris from Antioch High School down in the AWA. Earthquake Ferris, a great guy, successful in the AWA, probably too great of a guy to have made it in the business because he's just a good guy, good shooter. And I called him and said, Woody Farmer, God bless him. Remember Woody? Nice man. And he said, Woody Farmer, Alex Smirnoff, Jerry Monty, God bless them all now, are all running camps. And Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer had moved to Sacramento from Georgia, from Florida. And so Quake said, Buzz is over. He was down in WCW beating up people on TV, and he was beating them up. Believe me. So Quake said, you want to get over in the business, maybe give Buzz a call. And I did. And anybody who met Buzz, the local guys, most of us are gone now, would tell you it was different. Man, he had you eating out of the palms of his hand. He had you intimidated. When you walked in, it was Buzz Sawyer you saw on TV. Toned down maybe a little bit. He spoke.
Mm-hmm.
But I went up to Buzz's camp and was training with him the next week because he busted his hand, remember, off the top rope on the Dynamic Dudes. And he just didn't want to go back. His hand wasn't broken. It was just really badly sprained. But we were started training the next week. And also, Ken Shamrock had just left. The American Eagle, Paul Brown, good friend of mine, was running the camp. And Buzz come in. And Buzz took everybody and stretched him to within an inch of them having an emotional breakdown. Buzz was a great shooter. Nobody taught, I mean, Buzz was a good amateur wrestler in high school, but nobody really taught it. Buzz was an amazing pro wrestler. He knew how to do everything. Drop a leg, drop an elbow, go back, hit the ropes, drop a knee, flying headbutt. Everything, flying elbow like Shawn Michaels does. Off the top rope, flying drop kick. Things you never saw him do, but he was teaching us to do it. He was amazing. He knew how to take every move from another move and turn it into another. He's the most, and I can say this with all my heart, underrated, underappreciated worker there's ever been. He was amazing. Beer belly, out of shape looking guy, looked like he was 55 until you saw him in person. Big bald head at 30 and moved like a cat. If you were quick, he became quicker. If you were fast, he became faster. If you were strong, he became stronger. He just, in wrestling, Buzz, when we started working and training and doing our moves, it was competition. It was sport. He upped your game. And so he just stretched me on the mat for a couple months. And it was horrible, man. It was terrible. Everybody come in that ring through that door, that training center. Big, tough dudes. Mr. World, Jimmy Badra, looked great guy. This tough kid out of the streets of Vallejo, Gary. All kinds of guys. Buzz stretched us all. Nobody stood a chance against him. The only thing that take down Buzz was Buzz. And so he started smartening me up a little bit, but Buzz taught me the way I wanted to be taught. It was real. You respected what you did. You kayfabed. I suppose we all know what that means now. We protected the business 100%. And he taught me to be that guy. And that was a Achilles heel of mine for quite a while, for years actually, till the Honky Tonk Man and Steve Kern was wrestling as Skinner. You know, they would repeatedly pull me aside and say, "Hey man, you know, when you headbutt me, I don't want to have to put ice on my head that night because I have a concussion. I got to go home and I got to go to work tomorrow." You know, it's like, so I lightened up just a little bit, but Jason Styles would never tell you I did. Earthquake Ferris try to tell me, you know, to lighten up. But the boys that come into Buzz Sawyer's camp, Bill Monroe, good friend of mine still, also wrestled as Big Money. You know, we just loved pro wrestling and we protected it, and it was real because, you know, it to us and then, and the way we were taught, it was real. And Buzz came in, locked the door, and made your life miserable for a couple hours, chopping you till you bled, you know, taking you down, holding until you're about to pass out. And then, you know, he teach you to fight back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that was good at weeding out people who really wanted it.
It weeded out everybody, brother. Everybody. 25 guys one night, 2 the next. Yeah, unless you could shoot like Ken Shamrock or Paul Brown or Mike Huff, you quit. And Billy Monroe, for whatever reason, Billy kept coming back. So, and myself. But Buzz Sawyer was an incredible worker, and had he, you know, then he wouldn't have been Buzz. Had he been able to keep his business sense together, it would have been he would have been known by everybody because he was incredible. You know, when he took me down to, I think it was my very first match, maybe my second. We were at the Great Western Forum down in Los Angeles, where the Lakers were playing, or the Staple, wherever the Lakers were playing. And we were in the back locker room, and, you know, Buzz walked right in the back with me. It was, you know, NWA or WCW, that I can't remember. Lex Luger, Ric Flair, Sting, Ron Simmons, Butch Reed, all of them come back. All of them to his face were as happy as could be to see him. But when he was gone and I went back myself, I could see the difference on, well, who really wanted to talk to you and who didn't. But we went back there, and Buzz booked me in their first match there with Billy Superfoot Monroe. And so our first match, it stunk. It was terrible. Kevin Sullivan was watching and wanted to bring Buzz in and bring me in as his protege or something. So Buzz said the next night, you break Billy's nose. And Billy was there. And Billy and I looked at each other and said, okay. Billy said, okay. So Billy come in and took the boot to the face. Billy didn't pull up because if my match stunk, his match stunk too. We were together. And then, Billy threw him out through we were at the Civic Center in San Francisco this night. Threw him out through the ropes. Billy touched no ropes, nothing, went right out through it. Boom, on the hard floor out there. Didn't touch, drag anything. Straight out. Bang. He was bleeding. He was busted up, but Billy kept coming because I was Billy Monroe at the time, Superfoot. And, and Buzz said, I want to see blood and the hard way. And to me, the real way. And we gave it to him. I'm not sure if Kevin liked it or not, but that's what we did. Sid Vicious liked it.
Yeah, I mean, WCW/NWA around that time, they didn't have like a shortage of heavy hitters. You talk about guys like Ron Simmons and Vader and stuff like that. These are guys that hit.
Yeah, Vader, a lot like Buzz. Yeah, and they would have a little bullyingism, and Vader would back down to Buzz. Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow. Yeah, I mean there was a little. They would back down to Buzz. Steve Dr. Death Williams did not, but that would have been interesting.
I was speaking of Dr. Death, the Dark Side of the Ring with the Brawl for All. That was an interesting moment with him on there. It was especially it's weird that in a business that the old school stuff was about real fighting, the Brawl for All would be the thing that'd be like the worst thing they could ever do. It's like, okay. So you're starting off, you're doing all this stuff. Now, how does this prepare you for like when you end up going to different things, say when Buzz isn't around, as far as like locker room etiquette? Because, wrestling's pretty, especially back then, is pretty known for, there's very specific rules that you have to follow. You can't be a pushover, but you can't step on anyone's toes. It's all this stuff. So how does, someone who's like being trained by basically a massive hard ass, how do you kind of navigate yourself around the locker room or with that kind of teaching?
Well, when I went with Buzz, he said, shut up and follow me and learn. And we went in and we owned the place. And I was, walking in Buzz's footsteps. Then he was gone not long after, year maybe. And in the independents, I loved the guys on the independents. Loved them all. I probably was hard on all of them, but I loved them all. Guys from down south, Bobby Bradley. I mean, his brother Wayne. Loved them all. Jesse Hernandez, Billy Anderson. I was stiff on them all. Joe Applebaumer up here. Whatever. Jason Styles, a good friend of mine. But, I kind of took Buzz's etiquette walking in, and kind of took over like I owned the place. And the Iron Sheik liked that. And I knew the etiquette was you put your bag down and don't say anything. Honky Tonk Man, again, was another guy who told me to cool it a little bit.
So but in the independents,
man, the first match started when you walked in. You had to put yourself over in the locker room. There was an issue. There were two issues. I was too stiff, and I wouldn't do a job, and walking in the locker room like I owned the place. Though the guys loved me, I got along with them well. When the NWC opened up, I was in office, but I was with the boys, like Bobby Bradley and the Power Twins. When the Godfather came in, Sabu, Robbie Van Dam, they all had their cliques, which are all cool. But I hung out with the boys, who worked the first match, second match, third match. That to me was real, and they were the boys to me.
So what was that whole situation like? It seems like you had a lot of people doing a lot of crazy stuff. There were death matches, there was weapons matches, elimination steel cage weapons stretcher out match is one I see right there. Seems like a lot that was going on, and we're talking like 95. This isn't, the prime of ECW where everyone's like fully in the know with all this stuff. What was that like, especially coming from, a little bit more old school situation? And then now you're going to a place where now these dudes are having death matches and all this stuff. It's like, what is your headspace in this?
But Cactus Jack was there with Sabu and Robbie Van Dam. And I'll tell you this, all the boys from anybody who hadn't met Sabu was like marking out. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what that means, right? Excited, including me. Everybody was going to be a mark for Sabu. He was coming into town. He was the number 5th or 8th ranked wrestler in PWI from Independence, and he made it. He was the shit, and we were all excited to meet Sabu. And the promoter TC Martin, with the Money Man Buffalo Jim, with the Thug, they said, we have your Johnny Paine, Psycho Johnny Paine. They want to call me Pitbull because Junkyard Dog was there. They go, we want you to Junkyard. They don't want 2 dogs being in one. I said, that's fine. Psycho's fine. Johnny Paine. So they wanted me to be like they were going to do Goldberg. I was just going to demolish the undercard boys. And I would tell them every time before the match, like, a Bobby Bradley or something, and I love you, but I'm gonna lay it in. I'm gonna really, when I give you a power bomb, I'm driving it down. I'm hitting. It's gonna be fast and hard. This is what TC wants. Every single one of them, they were good with me. They said, yep, let's do it. Apologized, thanked him, and bought him a beer after the match. Maybe 2 or 3. Carlos Mata, worked with him a few times up there. And Virgil come in, but Terry Funk. So the promoter wanted me to do just sell nothing. We're going to build you. Sabu is going to do his stuff with Cactus Jack. Nobody else does that. Robbie Van Dam was going to do his stuff with his tag team partner, Bobby Bradley, Ariel Rosalt. Nobody else was going to do that. So everybody was going to have their thing.
Yeah.
And I was going to work my way up the card and eventually, put over Sabu or something like that. But, it was down in Vegas. We had the Godfather come in. We had, we called him, we said he was Mike Tyson, but he wasn't. Cliff Clouser, the boxer that played Mike Tyson in the movie. Buffalo was big on leading people to believe that we actually had the star coming in. We had all kinds of people coming in, people that looked like William Shatner or whatever. And people would ask, and we'd just say, yeah, that's them. But it was great, man. The NWC, we were rocking. We were selling good tickets at the Aladdin, the Silver Nugget, and mainly the Silver Nugget. And then we'd go around in a couple spot shows, and always drawing like 1,000 people at the Silver Nugget. And they were the locals, man. It was off the strip, and they would come, same people every time. It was really cool because then we did a Halloween Havoc where they asked Buffalo and I to come with a few of the other guys, sit in the front row while they had Big Boss Man and Big Show do their gimmick on the side. And when Buffalo and I walked in, all our homeboys from the NWC were all out in the crowd. They all stood up, gave a standing ovation. So that was nice. I mean, it was real. It was I love them fans. Just one thing when I got into wrestling, the boys, I never liked the way marks were treated. It was like talked down. I love the wrestling fan. I wanted to go out and talk to them and, exchange stories with them. And the Iron Sheik told me, you got to back that off a little bit. Elvis doesn't go out before the main event. And I was like, okay. And I listened to the Sheik and stuff. So
yeah, that's it's now gotten to the point now where the marks are eating the marks is what it is on the internet. People, I got called a mark the other day online. I forget why. It's just like talking about wrestling, and I'm like, you're not a wrestler. I'm like, we're both marks, you idiot. Like we both like wrestling. Like, what's wrong with you?
Hey man, any guy who goes into wrestling that liked wrestling was a mark.
Yeah,
I loved it. And I went up and ate out of Buzz's hand, everything he was selling me, you know, and then we'd go out at night after the matches, and Buzz would have another couple of matches out on the town. First guy who called wrestling not anything short of real. He was bad. He was bad to the bone. Tough guy. And, you know, so I had to lighten up as time went on too. But yeah, I'm watching AEW now as we talk.
See, there you go. That's actually an interesting segue there. So, you know, Mr. Old School guy right here, trained the hard-hitting stiff way. Now you see stuff like Orange Cassidy on television. You know, it's a real divisive thing. Ask Jim Cornette, who apparently is going to have a heart attack one day if he keeps watching Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
To me, wrestling has always been like a buffet. You know, there's some great steak over here where I'm just going to watch people just holds and tough and da-da-da. And then there's, you know, some cotton candy over here, and I'm going to see some people do some stuff. You know, to me, wrestling's wrestling. You know, it's a lot of things. So, you know, what is your mindset when you see like newer stuff now, especially on the indies, which has really become, you know, a lot different?
I totally agree with you. Wrestling is like a big buffet. You got to have a little bit of everything for everybody. And hey, Jim Cornette, he'd get upset if I said this probably. He was the greatest manager I ever saw. I mean, that son of a gun, he could speak. It could come out without stutter. And he was a master. Other people say Jimmy Hart, the Grand Wizard, etc. My favorite as being a mark was Jim Cornette. When I was wrestling, it was really personal to me if anything didn't look real. It just ate me alive, and I voiced my opinion, and the people on the rag sheets would say how wrong I was because I can't do this. Oh, man, it was always an argument. But I'd say I come full circle and see the buffet for everyone. Orange Cassidy, I can't believe it. When he went out before there were no crowds allowed, he is over. If I'm booking that show, he's out there because he's over and the crowd digs him. Buzz would have beat him up the first day he saw him, but you know, and I wouldn't have liked it when I first met him. But if it's over with the crowd, that's what counts. Yeah, I mean, the silliness in wrestling, the only part I really couldn't stand was when they took great names like Mae Young and had her like give birth to the hand. And the just embarrassing stuff when you have the true world's strongest man, Mark Henry, and you can't do something real with that.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, remember when he came out against Goldberg as a beast with the dreadlocks?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was real. Instead, you know, I mean, and Mae Young, a legendary wrestler, a fabulous Moolah. Let me tell you a story about fabulous Moolah.
Okay.
So she come up to Sacramento. We were in a wrestling practice. Buzz wasn't there. I was running practice. Probably 10 guys, maybe more in there. Everybody was swearing and cussing, talking wrestling, talking like wrestlers to each other. Everybody was trying to bully each other, trying to find out who could bully who. Because in wrestling, we didn't care what color, shape, sexual preference, nothing. None of that mattered. We would love you if you could stand your ground. But if you showed weakness, especially back then you got bullied. If you showed any weakness. So everybody's trying to bully everybody, trying to get the pecking order. Fabulous Moolah with Mae Young walks in just out of the blue. I don't know why the door wasn't locked. Maybe she knocked on the door. She comes in, man, and all the guys try to pump up. Everybody knows who Fabulous Moolah is. Try to act like there's something. She just looks down on them, and they all just deflate. And they can't get a sentence out. And she's just like walking around, and she owned the place. Man, wow. She had it. All the guys, the boys that thought they were big, tough, jacked up, you know, bench pressing 500 pounds, whatever, boxers, fighters, didn't matter. Fabulous Moolah intimidated all the boys in there at that time. And she goes, let me see what you boys got. Get in the ring. And she expected you to be ready to go right then and there. She was going to do something down in Florida. She wanted to see who she could bring down. They're going through, and she was like, nope, next. She was hurting their feelings. Guys were walking on. And she goes, Johnny Paine, you get in there. I was like, oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. I ran in there, jumped in there, and did a few things. And she calls me over to Mae Young, and she goes, we like you, Johnny. You come on down to Florida. And I go, yes, okay. And she goes, I go, oh, you know, somebody said, I said maybe, you know, like, where would I stay when I get there? She goes, don't you worry, son. You'll be staying with us. I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. But, man, she just came in and owned the place and then walked out.
Wow.
I don't remember if I ever saw her again. Would have been nice if Buzz was there when she walked in. What would have happened then? But, you know.
Wow. Yeah, there's something weird about, like, you know how I don't know what you call it, star power, charisma, whatever it is. Something that like certain people have, like the second you walk in a room, it's almost like when you're at like an airport or something and you see someone, you're like, they're famous. I don't know how, but like there's something about them.
It's the it factor.
Yeah.
It's the it factor. And you can't teach that. Either you got it or you don't. I mean, like, you know, when I'm going into an interview with my buddies at work or something, I say, man, when you walk in the room, you got to walk in like you own it. Like you're 7 feet tall, 400 pounds, and you can't teach that. Who used to say that? That guy, the guy from the WWE.
Oh, shit.
And he was right.
Yeah.
Alonzo.
Bill
He's a little
Alfonso?
rapper.
Oh, no. Shoot. I don't remember.
Amori.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And you can't teach that. You can't. And so I kind of had that when I walk in the back locker room, which was great. But then when you left, if there was any time between shows, like in Independence, guys, they would stew on them, and then they would bury you. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. But if it was every night, it was good to have the it factor, walk in and own the place, because then you could continue it. Never gave anybody a chance to debrief over it. But in the Independents, yeah, some of them, like big time wrestling, didn't like the way, you know, walk in like you own the place. The it factor, man, it's really hard to explain. You know, like what did the Road Warriors do that was so different? But when they walked in,
yeah, something
was there.
Yeah, you're gonna get hit. Also, that's the other thing. You're also gonna get the shit kicked out of you. The Road Warriors are bananas. So you're talking about all the different places you're traveling, all the different. I'm sure a lot of road stories you got. You know, how far? You know, what kind of loops are you doing at the time? Like,
wrestling was at a ultimate low for quite a while. When I first started, I mean, they were going to cancel all house shows. They weren't going to hire any workers over 40. Because I remember talking to Honky Tonk Man a lot. And jobs were few and far between. Territories had dried up. So you pretty much had to pack your own bags and go somewhere and get a spot show. It was difficult to to get really anything going. I went down to Georgia. When I worked down south for Tom Shade's military wrestling shows, the Iron Sheik shows up. We were at the airport. I was with Nito Gomez, former bodybuilder, and we were going to travel with Mr. Outrageous's, Greg the Hammer Valentine was coming in. I was probably 28 years old, 27. And the Iron Sheik's walking on the pathway out to get in the cars. A couple of the guys were like, Sheik, come get in our car. We got all kinds of gimmick. We got everything for you. Come kick back. I had maybe 2 words with the Iron Sheik, and he turns and he looks at me and goes, I want to go with him. And for whatever reason, Sheik and I bonded. So after a week of hanging out on the road together, the Iron Sheik, we never went back to the hotel room. We had one, but we never went back. He invited me to his home, into his house in Georgia, and took me to WCW, and business was just starting to take up there. And he took me we were at a club, and all of a sudden, we worked for WCW that morning. And, Jason Styles' favorite story. I'm down at the training center, the
power plant?
Yeah. And they got all the guys who are going to be big time there. I met Big Show, and some other guys. And Sheik's all, don't put anybody over. Don't, sell for nobody. So we're beating the heck out of everybody. And I go into the back, into the office to talk to Jody Hamilton, who was running as the assassin. He's running the power plant. And he goes, I go, hey, I sent you my tape, my pictures. I respect you. What do you think? Iron Sheik standing next to me, and we're in his office, and Jody goes, well, I don't think Eric's going to like all that spit and stuff, because I pop Alka-Seltzer in my mouth, start drooling. The NWC wanted me to pop the Alka-Seltzer and drool all over the opponent after I beat him. And I don't know what happened. He said that, and I lost it. He's sitting behind his desk, his big, expensive desk. It's hot. He's sweating. He's got chew dripping down his mouth on his shirt. And I go, oh, really? I go, you sitting, okay, fill in the words. You sitting back there, drooling your spit all over yourself. Wipe your mouth. What the heck you want to tell me, a young guy who wants a job in the business, that you don't like my drool and my gimmick? Why don't you wipe your mouth and get out and wipe the sweat off your body? And I was dropping every word there was and calling him every name. And he was like, whoa. And the Iron Sheik's, I look over and Sheik's like, what are you doing, Johnny Paine? And I'm like, I couldn't stop. It just started flowing. I go, I fly all the way down here to come to your power plant, you Nikola Doctor. And I'm calling him every name in the business, in the book. And I won't even say exactly what I said. He goes, and I go, and you want to talk about me drooling my gimmick, and you're drooling your spit down your face, and it's falling all over your big, fancy $5,000 desk. And finally, Iron Sheik grabs me and goes, let's go, Johnny. And we left. We just walked out. And he goes, God damn it, Johnny Paine, I can't believe it. What are you doing, you dumpy? I'm like, I don't know, Sheik, I lost it. He was so mad. We drove back to his house. And we never made it, of course, because we went out to a club that night. And Sheik goes, so the WCW guys were there, a couple of them, I don't remember who now. Then Tatanka walks by. And I believe Scott Hall is Razor Ramon. I can't remember, the Godfather. And Tatanka was really cool. And I go, hey, man, how are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I thought you worked for WWF. And he goes, yeah, we're in town. I go, oh, okay. I turn around, the Iron Sheik's talking to one of the I think the Smoking Guns. So we were in, somebody invited us to go to their next town for WWF, and that was down in Florida, where the Magic played. They were doing Monday Night Raw. Sid Vicious was returning that night as Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. Kane was there in a tryout. Kane, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Eric Watts were all there for tryouts on their first night, and I was there. The story I told you earlier. So my buddy Alan Bolte called Pat Patterson, talked me up a little bit a year ago or whatever it was. And I said, hey, Pat, Johnny, like to, Alan talked to you about me. And he said, oh, yeah, Alan said good stuff. Go hang out. We'll see if we can get you a match in between, a dark match. And Rene Goulet and Tony Gurria come up and said, hey, we want you to work with our boy here. Well, little guy, nice guy, didn't deserve what I gave him, which was not. I gave him nothing, but I gave it all to him. So
you gave him nothing and everything at the same time.
Yeah, I'm telling Sheik, are we going to walk out if they ask us to job? Who am I? But anyway, so we go out and I lay it in, and man, it was wrong. He didn't know better, and we come back and Sheik goes, go talk to Pat about getting paid. So I sit down with Pat Patterson, Jim Ross, and I think Arnold Skolin, maybe I'm wrong, to do the pay. And they opened up the briefcase, and they gave me. So 2 days, I blew WCW, and then I blew WWF. They gave me $50. And I look at it, I go, uh-huh. And they go, yeah. I go, $50. They go, yeah. And I think it was Pat goes, yeah, pretty good, huh? I said, I tell you what, you know what? And I threw it at him. And I said, you know what? Your company needs this more than me. Said a couple other things. I said, I'm out of here. You need this more than me. I can do better than that. And one of them, I think it was Pat, goes, whoa, we got young Hulk Hogan here. And I turned around and threw shade. And I look at the Iron Sheik, and he's looking at me like, oh, Johnny Paine, what are you doing? So Sheik goes, let's storm out of here. So Sheik, we're on our way out, and Vince McMahon's talking to Bret Hart in an office or something. And they're having a pretty in-depth conversation. Now I'm thinking, okay, Johnny, you blew it with WCW by going off on Jody. You blew it just now with WWF, beating up their guy, throwing their $50 in their face. I go, Sheik, let's go talk to Vince. And
how did you walk around with the size of your balls, dude?
I had to pull something out of my hat. I know, man. I know. I thought it was something more. I
love it. It's amazing.
I'm like, Sheik, I'm like thinking I got to do something to salvage and save it. I flew all the way down to Georgia. I go, let's just go in. I mean, and Bret Hart's talking to Vince, a pretty heated conversation. I can hear something about finish. One of the boys pooped in Rip Rogers' bag that night. And so that's a story for a little bit later if you want. And, and Bret was having heat with Shawn and all that stuff. I go, Sheik, look, he goes, do you think I should? Sheik goes, Johnny, do you think I should? I go, you're his champion. You made Hulk Hogan. You made this company. Oh, that's true. You're the Iron Sheik. And Sheik goes, oh, yeah, I'm the Iron Sheik, Johnny. And because he loved me. I loved him. I go, Sheik, let's go in that office. So I walk behind him. He goes storming in, blows the door up and goes, hello, Vince, baby. Bret, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, I followed him right in with a big smile on my face. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, come in. And Bret said, hi, Bret, Johnny Paine, nice to meet you. And Sheik puts me over to Vince. And Vince goes, okay, go see the guys he goes, go see Pat and Jim. Yeah, the guys who I just threw the money at. Okay, that's going to go well. And so we walked out, and it's funny, every now and then the Sheik would go, do you think I should, Johnny Paine? I go, hey, you're the Iron Sheik. You're the champ. You're the real champ. Hulk Hogan's a jabroni. You'd hear him say it. And he'd go right in there and do it. When we went there that night, and maybe it was even the night before, we were down there 2 or 3 nights. And the guy who did Doink and the Sheik told me, put on your gimmick. That included putting on the dog collar, the chains, the harness. They said, put it all on. I'm walking around back there feeling kind of funny, but when I finally got the match, I was ready to go. So Sheik leg was really bad. He could hardly walk. We're out in the car, and Sheik says, park around the back. Don't want anybody to see it. He puts his foot out. We took that ankle. We straightened it out. We taped it like a mummy. We put a shoe brace lace over it. We tied it up. We shoved that big boot on. And he got up and he could walk better. And then he goes, okay, Johnny, go around and watch for anybody. And I don't know what he was going to do. You put 2 and 2 together. We all know what he was going to do. About 5-10 minutes later, come on, Johnny, let's go. And he's walking like $1 million. But he's still limp, but he sucked it up, man. The Iron Sheik was the ultimate because I was with him. He couldn't walk. But then he did his gimmick, took his medicine. I taped him up. He was ready to go. Bushwhackers could tell. They took me aside and said, "Is Sheik okay? Looks like he's limping." I go, "Man, the Iron Sheik's ready to rock and roll." Sheik wanted me to come in as the Georgia Bulldog, as somebody who he had turned into the Iranian government. And, I said, "Whatever you want, Sheiky." We had a lot of fun, man. The Iron Sheik, he could hardly walk. Junkyard Dog was there, and Tim Horner, White Lightning, I guess Atlantic State champion, Atlanta, great wrestler, buffed. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Buffed up. Kind of bumped into the Iron Sheik, who had that bad leg. He stumbled a little bit. Ooh, not good. Like a cat, Iron Sheik shoots in, takes White Lightning down, takes him down, puts him in a cradle like that, and says, "You jabroni, I'll take your out and yourself." I won't use the words he used. I used to use them all the time. Not anymore. But, man, he took him down like a cat. The Iron Sheik, he was another guy who nobody could beat him but himself. I wrestled him in Las Vegas. So I'm beating everybody. I'm selling nothing for anybody. All the boys would always say, "Hey, I want to do that." Yeah, okay, but it got lost in the match. And I beat the hell out of them, but I loved them all and hugged them after. So T.C. Martin is the promoter. He goes, "Hey, Johnny, I'm going to make your dream come true." We're down in the hotel front, and he goes, "You're going to wrestle the Iron Sheik tomorrow night." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." And he's with the Thug, who's also the promoter. Buffalo Jim wasn't there yet, who was the money man. God bless Buffalo, longtime friend of mine. And he goes, "I want you to go," because I'm rooming with the Iron Sheik. I was rooming with Robbie Van Dam. Then I started rooming with the Iron Sheik. And he goes, "I want you to tell the Iron Sheik he's going to put you over." Nobody wanted to tell him. I go, "What? You want me to tell my mentor, my idol, that they go, "Yeah, he loves you. Tell him he's going to put you over." I'm like, "Okay." So and I'll tell you a story about Robbie Van Dam in the hotel room, too. Guy was an incredible wrestler. That Brawl for It All, which I have to admit I love watching? Robbie didn't come across this way, but he'd have been a tough person to beat in that. Robbie was laid back, surfer, whatever, his gimmick. But Robbie was one of the best athletes I ever saw, and he was double tough. We were in the hotel room, and he goes, "Johnny, hip toss." He comes running at me. I give him a hip toss. I didn't feel anything. His feet run up the ceiling. He goes straight over the top and boom, down on the bed. Man, he was like pouncing up and just he was like a cat. So anyway, the Iron Sheik, I'm rooming with him that night. I go, "So Sheik, we're going to work together tomorrow night." He goes, "Oh, Johnny, good. I love you. I want to work. That's great." And Sheik, they want you to put me over. She goes, "God damn it, Johnny Paine. I don't put Hulk Hogan over in Madison Square Garden. Now I put Johnny Paine over in Silver Nugget. Oh, look at where my career is coming." I'm like, "Sheik, whatever you want to do. But, it's what they wanted me to ask you." I knew he'd do it. And he goes, "Johnny, I love you. It's your time. It's your time. I'm going to put you over." And so I wanted to make, kind of like Hulk Hogan with Andre, I wanted to make sure I did it right. I said, "Sheik, what do you want to do?" So we're in there. He's got the Persian clubs. We're practicing it with him. Hit me in the stomach with the Persian club. And no, he hit me with the Persian club. We're going over the spots. We're having a great time. And so he's showing me the suplex he wants to give me. And I screwed it up in the ring. I was 280 pounds. He goes to lift me up. I sat down. So I'm not only giving him all my weight, I'm kind of shooting on him. I'm holding back. I kind of shoot in on his leg. And he picks me up, his bad leg and all, spins me up on his shoulder, holds me up. And when I'm up there, I'm thinking, wow, not since Buzz Sawyer haven't been with a man this strong that could do. It was an unbelievable. Spun me around, boom, put me down on the mat. I was like, that's why he was the bodyguard to the Shah of Iran. That's why he would have been on the Iranian Olympic team. That's why he would have been on the U.S. Olympic team had his government not had all those issues. But that was really intense. And Sheik put me over like $1 million in there. I'm wrestling, and he's got that bad leg, and he's doing the gimmick, the Persian clubs, and I run in there and kind of chase him out and stuff. But you didn't touch the Persian clubs because that was religious. And I knew that. I knew better. I saw guys touch it at the Aladdin. Sheik knocked him out, punched him, boom, knocked him down, knocked him into the ropes. Guy get up, boom, kicked him in the face. They took him out on a stretcher. I knew better than that. So Larry Powers from the Power Twins is outside the ring. I'm looking over the top rope. I go, Larry, is the Sheik coming? And as I'm yelling, you son of a gun, I go, Larry, is the Sheik coming? Larry's like, yeah, shut up, Johnny Paine. Yeah, he's coming. He's getting in the ring. Okay, like, I feel like I'm sitting there for 10 minutes. I go, Larry, where is he? He's on his way across the ring. Finally he gets there, and boom, we do the match. And it was great because it was the Iron Sheik. I mean, the Iron Sheik who, 10 years ago, takes the title off of Bob Backlund, puts it on Hulk Hogan. Now he's passing the torch to me. A couple nights later, Big Ronnie Reese, remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Played for Santa Clara basketball and stuff. I really liked Ronnie. Went down and did that mummy thing in WCW.
That wasn't the best. That wasn't the best moment of his life.
That was awful.
That wasn't the best moment of his life.
It was a career killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Sabu's buddy was Judge Dredd, big guy from Detroit. And they were going to do this thing. Judge Dredd was going to put over Ronnie. Judge didn't like that. Big old boy out of Detroit, big, 6'8". But he knew what he had to do. Sabu was kind of, I can't believe you're going to put him over, pussy, and blah, 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 blah. And okay. So promoter tells me, go out there, shoot on Ronnie, take him down. Have Larry Powers hold him down, and Judge Dredd's going to do a Vader bomb. Okay. And Ronnie's a great guy. He just started in the business. He beats two guys. I hit the ring. I go to shoot on him. He freezes up. He forgets everything we're going to do.
Mm.
He's not easy to shoot on, 7 feet tall, 350, 380, whatever it was. So I had to shoot on him. I could shoot a little bit, I thought, until I wrestled Buzz and the Sheik. So I'm trying to take him down. I'm like, Ron, get down. And so I had to legit take him down. And I got him down to his butt. And then Powers twin comes in. He sees what's going on. He knows it. And Larry didn't need to be asked twice. He starts laying the boots real to him. Ronnie starts panicking, freaking out a little bit, gets sick. And he gets sick in the ring, and it's all over.
Oh.
I'm like, Ronnie, just lay there. I'm like, oh, God, all over the place. And Judge gets up on that top rope. I go, just lay there. He's going to do the Vader bomb. We're out of here. And he does it. And Judge misses, and his knee goes in Ronnie's arm. You'd swear he cut Ronnie's head off the way Ronnie jumped. Oh, man. We were holding him down. He jumped. Oh, man, he went nuts. I was like, I think Judge missed or something. And so,
what an absolute shit show.
It looked good because guys were really hurt. And it was a shit show, by the way. So we go to the back, and Doc Flip Hamansky, who's a doc for Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson. Ronnie goes, oh, man, Doc, look at my arm. Doc pulls his arm down. There's a big bruise and everything. He takes an ice pack and goes, here, hold that to it. And Ron goes, well, you could show a little sympathy. And Flip Hamansky walks off. Flip Hamansky's doing all our blood pressure. We had to take a blood pressure to pass the test to wrestle that night. Jim Neidhart's smoking a cigarette, and they're doing it. He had to do it 3 times. And finally, Flip Hamansky goes, Jim, you might put the cigarette out so we can pass this blood pressure test. And then he does me, and I'm like, hey, man, am I the greatest athlete you ever had with this thing on, Doc? And he liked me a lot. He said, well, second to Evander Holyfield. I said, well, I'll take that. So anyway, the NWC was cool. Sabu went up there. Sabu was amazing working with Cactus Jack. They went up into the casino, took a bump on the card tables or whatever you call it. So, yeah, that was pretty intense.
Speaking of Jim Neidhart, whose idea, and I think you know what I'm going to ask here.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, go ahead, ask it. I know exactly what you're doing.
Whose idea was it to have him dress in a KKK outfit when he was fighting Virgil?
Yeah, I tell you exactly whose it was. I was there the whole time. Virgil's himself. Okay, I worked with Virgil. I got along with him. Well, he was all about putting Virgil over.
Who, him?
His idea, his gimmick. He wanted me to be one of them. And I go, well, what if people see? And he goes, so what? You're a heel, blah, blah. I go, you know what? That ain't me. I don't like that gimmick. I don't like that style. I'm not going to do it. And Virgil's like, huh, whatever. And then he runs it by Jim. And Jim said, okay. He did it. He didn't care. And they put the other hood over the thug, I think. And, yeah, it was Virgil about putting Virgil over, man. Every single night he was there, he'd come up with his own angles. And, man, he worked with Junkyard Dog once, and that was it because he couldn't get over on Junkyard Dog.
Did he charge the workers for the hoods?
Everybody charged something for everybody. Junkyard Dog was running a pro wrestling school out of the hotel. He had a bunch of kids running around the hotel, paying him money, running his errands. I go, Dog, what's going on? He goes, hey, you're going to get in the way, bro. I'm paying them. My kids running around. They're paying, they're in my camp. Junkyard lived in the hotel room at the time. Okay. And so I worked with Dog a couple times, and I believe it or not, Dog put me over too.
Wow.
Disqualification. DQ. His idea too. Dog liked me. He was like, man, you going to go down and live with the Iron Sheik? He goes, I don't know, man. Who's the heel in that group? And like Alex Smirnoff used to say, he said, I'd love to see you and Buzz Sawyer wrestle the Road Warriors. He said, how would you guys talk about this match? Who's going to do the job? Who's going to sell for who? So. Just
two groups of guys standing across from a locker room from each other, not saying a word, just staring.
Probably. I had a couple of those, I don't know if you remember Big Joe Applebaum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to have just really snug matches, but some of the best matches I ever had. I don't know what he would say now, but we really beat each other, and Kirk at Big Time Wrestling didn't like either one of us, but he come back with one of the matches where Joe and I did. He said that was one of the best matches I ever saw. You guys beat on each other. He said I was entertained because Joe and I remember Joe. We were wrestling Incredibly Strange Wrestling, and Joe took the chair and hit me hard. That's all right. Joe goes, I knew after I hit you, I was going to get a receipt. So Joe's standing there. And I see that big back and the plastic. It was a plastic chair. Kind of stings. I hit him as hard as I could in the back. I hit him so hard, the pop rivets popped out, and the plastic, butt cheek flew out and went down. Big old welt on his back. He then flips over the top rope. And Incredibly Strange, you're allowed to sit on the corner of the ring. There's this girl sitting there drinking, talking to a guy. They don't see Joe's 400 pounds coming over the top. Joe wouldn't have moved. Joe was going to smash him, and he would have killed him. I hit Joe at the last second, just enough to move him to just kind of brush the shoulder. I remember them going I was like, oh, God. Joe goes, I knew I was going to get a receipt. Did you ever see Incredibly Strange?
I have seen clips of it. I believe you probably know a mutual friend then, Ron Head.
That was the announcer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Sorry.
No worries. I saw it at his place.
Yeah, I worked there. It's early in the show, and I'm leaning outside, and this is back in it's realism day. You know, I'm going to beat up the boy I'm working with. And this guy has a drink, hard stuff, and he goes, and I'm yelling, should I turn the light on? Is it getting dark in here, or does that look nice and creepy?
Oh, that's all right. It's fine.
All right. So he says, ha, 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 and he throws the drink in my face, right in my eyes. And it burns. I grabbed him by the head and pushed him down in the mat. Shoot style. And then the bouncers jumped on him and they pulled him out. I was like, whoa, they're taking care of him any better than I can. So then I stormed through the crowd, get out of my way, bah! And I go out into the street and the cops are there. And I'm in my big furry boots like Bruiser Brody and Buzz wore. I'm in my wrestling singlet, my first singlet, I can't remember. But I had my big furry boots all through my career, big beard. My Alka-Seltzer is working well, spitting all over. And I go, hey, you two, escort me back into that ring. I need you to escort me away from all these pigs. Come on, guys. Those two cops stepped right up. They loved it. They moved the crowd aside. They escorted me in. Oh, it was great. Two San Francisco cops walking the beat. I go out and get in. I'm yelling at them. They went right into showtime, man. It was a good one.
Wow. So you must have saw some crazy shit with Extremely Strange Wrestling Incredibly Strange Wrestling, because that was some banana stuff going on in that promotion. They had like AIDS needles matches and all kinds of nonsense going on there.
I guess they did after I was gone. It was a little more wrestling and rock and roll. Yeah, I didn't know. They were allowed to throw tortillas at us, though.
So they escalated quickly then.
Yeah, like tortillas. By the time I wrestle, the ring would be like 3 inches thick in tortillas. I'd have tortillas all crimed up in my beard. I'd like to eat a whole burrito during the match or something. But, and because back then I had a short fuse. The tortilla would hit me in the face, and I get insulted, man. I can't believe it. You're crapping on my business. Who did that? But the crowd loved it, and so what the hell? And when I hit Joe, though, with that chair, I never hit anybody like that. I mean, he knew it was coming. It actually popped the pop rivets out of the chair. The butt seat goes flying, and so. But Jason Styles probably was about. I had probably 20 matches with Jason. I've even apologized to Jason how snug I was with him, but Jason was tough though, man. He could handle. We drove up to Vegas a few times, wrestled together up there. Had a good time with Jason. Here's a story about Jason Styles.
Okay.
So we're in the back locker room of Buffalo Jim's TV promotion, and Buffalo went to some show with Judge Judy. And somebody from the Judge Judy show, I guess, was there. And everybody thought he had a gun outside in the street. Buffalo goes, somebody go get rid of him. And Jason stands up and goes, I'll go get rid of him. I'm like, the hell are you doing, Jason? Yeah, Jason went out there and got rid of him. But and then, man, it was Buffalo would call it his misfits. I would wrestle guys with no training at all. Not only not a match, no training. We would train them in the back and go out to the ring. Try to get a guy to live through my DDT so we could, wrestle.
Oh, jeez.
I wish I have. We did a show for Buffalo up in Las Vegas and Sam Bowden Stadium in the parking lot. And it was a record hot day in Vegas at Sam Bowden Stadium. A record day, and it was in August. It was so hot when you hit the ring, because we were outdoors, you had to get off it really quick or you burned.
Oh,
Especially
wow.
if you went on Hoovy was there.
Oh, was he?
I really think he was. And they didn't want to wrestle. They come up out of Mexico. They said it was too hot. I mean, it was hot. And so I told Buffalo, man, I got to go. Why don't you just let me wrestle the first 6 matches? Because it was all for TV. I'll do 6 matches in a row. I kind of didn't mean it. I was just kind of ribbing the guys because they were acting like a bunch of babies. I go, I'll do 6 matches in a row, then I'm going. Because, these were, Hoovy was over. The other, Este Rios was there.
S.A. Rios?
Yeah, this guy was with WWF, right?
Yep.
Was over. Okay, real good worker. And they didn't want to go out because it was so hot. It was like in the 120s. So I was kind of ribbing them, saying, I'll go 5, 6 times in a row. And Buffalo means it. He goes, no, go every other match. And I did. And Buff was diabetic. And when he come back, he told one of his boys from the school, pull my boots off. Because he couldn't hardly walk. Guy pulls his boots off. You hear these stories about this baseball player. Michael Jordan's talking about it now on his basketball show. Their feet, their socks were covered with blood. Buffalo's white socks were like they had been dipped in paint. And that's no joke. I mean, they split wide open. It was awful. But Buffalo was the show must go on, man. He was out there in his cowboy boots, his long black jacket, his big old hat, his long beard. And we went out there at 120, 125 degrees and had a great time. Yeah, man, I miss Buffalo. It was a really good time. I knew that Buffalo's federation was closing up when the last time he brought me up a few times with Jason, and we brought a few of Jason's boys up. He goes, just come up yourself. Okay. Where's the ring? It's gone. So where are we going to wrestle? We're not going to wrestle. We're going to do interviews. Where are we going to do interviews? You're going to interview these guys in this just room with garbage all over. And that wasn't even the gimmick. And there looks like an old red, dirty couch. I think we're near the end of this run. But so that was the last show.
Wow.
Buffalo always took good care of me. We had a good time. Wrestled a lot of matches for him and for the NWC. One show, the NWC, one of the Wild Samoans were up there. Got along with them really well. Great guys. Somebody, he wanted more money. He had the promoter up against the wall, had him choking. I happened to come in. I had been hanging out up in that's probably the only thing that saved the promoter's life.
Wow.
Because I could tell there was some sort of tension that all stopped when I walked in the room. Promoter had a red hand mark on his neck. So I just hung there, make sure nobody did anything they didn't want to regret later.
Yeah. When you were hanging around some of the WCW guys, did you ever meet Ming?
Yes. Yeah. Iron Sheik introduced me to him. Yeah.
Okay. Because from all the new podcasts I listen to, I listen to Bischoff's, I listen to Tony Schiavone's and everything. Apparently, Ming literally just could beat up anyone in the world. That's what they said. Like, Ming was like the most badass person on the planet.
I've heard all the stories. I heard the stories before I got down there, and I knew the Barbarian pretty well, his partner, and Barbarian liked me. I liked him, and I met Ming, and he was just a great guy. And it was the same night that Vader got in a fight with Paul Orndorff.
Oh, wow.
If anybody wants to tell you the true story, I was there right next to Paul because I was due to go up. Ming, like you said, he was at a different level. When the office wanted, like Kevin Sullivan and the assassin Jody and whoever else was office wanted that fight to stop, they got Ming because first fight, Paul was an animal. I don't know that too many people could have gone with Paul Orndorff. And he took him. Vader goes back, wipes the blood off his face, gets himself ready, gets himself all Yeah, he got, kisses himself, and then he comes back for a rematch, squares up the box. They're duking it out. The Iron Sheik takes Paul, takes him back, and Vader didn't want to stop. It took Ming to take Vader back. And so Ming had that kind of reputation. But Ming, I met him. He was very nice, very low key. Didn't need to be anything but. His reputation was made. He was over in the business. They would have never asked him to embarrass himself. So he was happy.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently people say he actually did the Tongan death grip in real fights. And I was like, that's the most bananas thing ever.
Yeah.
So is it true Orndorff was wearing flip-flops or sandals or something?
Yeah. Paul was wearing nothing but a pair of small tennis shorts. White tennis shorts. No shirt, no socks, flip-flops from the shower. He was out. We were doing interviews. Renegade Warrior was there. Then one of the Gophers were there. I went to the back. Vader was talking to Sting about some spots they were going to do. Vader just blows the kid off. Paul then comes in the back and just goes irate on Vader verbally. And then storms out. And everybody, there was like 20 of us back. Dick Slater's back there. Hey, Dick's pretty tough. Sting, and all the other boys that were there at the time. And probably Ming, Barbarian, because I was with them right before. And then Vader stews for about a minute or two and gets up, storms out, and goes, "Hey, nobody talks to me that way." Double hand shoves Paul, knocks him on his ass. His flip-flops fly up, So now he's shoeless. But Paul gets up like a tiger, man, like a cat. Boom, right into Vader, knocks him back into the to this big heating vent area, like a cat, like an animal. Steps back, knocks him a couple punches, knocks him down with that, that crab arm he had. All of a sudden, that crab arm was super armed because he had the nerve damage.
Yeah,
a couple like that, and he knocked Vader down. And he starts kicking him in the face a couple times, barefoot. UFC style before UFC was alive. So the Sheik then pulls Paul back and calm down. And Paul's storming around. Oh my God, I'm going to get fired. It's my first night. I can't believe it. Kevin Sullivan comes back and goes, "Paul, relax." Vader goes back, wipes the blood off, gets himself, revives himself, and he goes back for the rematch. And they're in the TV room. Vader knocks the door down, squares up, goes, "I wasn't ready. You sucker punched me." Well, he was ready. He started like this. And they just started, you hear this bang, bang. And then I remember hearing one of the top office guys go to Ming, go break it up. Ming jumped on Vader's back and goes, "What are you doing?" And Vader just goes, "Okay, it's done."
Wow.
Yeah. It was intense. And then I got to go talk to Paul about a job. I'm like, how's this going to work? Man, so.
You just walk up, "So how you doing?"
Yeah. Well, the next day at Gold's Gym, Paul was there. And we talked about it. And Steve Austin was there as the Hollywood blonde. Long blonde hair, I think.
Stunning Steve.
Yeah. And he was hurting, but he was trying to work out. Paul was working out. Paul was worried about his job at the time because of what went down, but he got promoted and Vader got sent to WWF.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was intense. Yeah. So the bag pooping thing, that happened the next night or two. I come back in the locker room. I'm like, "Oh, what stinks?" And Rip is over washing all his stuff because it's all over his bag. And I'm like, "Man, that's wrong. I don't care if my first night back there, this is wrong." So I don't know if the guys who did it were right there. I know obviously they wanted to get rid of him. Barbarian was there shaking his head, and Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn gave Rip a towel from the hotel. and I went over and gave him a couple T-shirts, Johnny Paine T-shirts, and
That'll be $15.
Yeah, here, Rip. Here's a couple shirts because you don't have anything to wear. Now, where's my $10?
Yeah.
I mean, it just wasn't right, man. And I don't care who it was, and I don't care who knew I was helping the guy out. That just was gross. So,
yeah, that's.
I mean, it was terrible, man. It was not right. So then he wants me to pee in his cup for him for his drug test? Heck no.
Oh man. Okay. It's about that time. The booker has run out, trying to take it home. I have a feeling you are going to be the first person I ask on for a second time, because
I'd love to.
I feel like
start coming to my head.
Yeah, I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah,
so I'm just gonna go ahead and go through some rapid fire stuff. But of course, if it triggers anything as far as a story, feel free to go ahead and do it again. You're a great storyteller, so I'm not gonna tell Picasso not to paint. Anyway.
Okay.
So number one, favorite move or hold that you never used?
I always wanted to master a pile driver with some sort of flair to it. Remember the Canadian kid in TNA?
Oh yeah,
did the flip
Petey
with
Williams.
it? Yeah. That was my idea, but I never could get somebody to do it without maybe killing them. Pile drivers. Yeah. We tried. We tried. It didn't go well.
All right. Craziest fan interaction.
There was millions of them. The one where the guy threw the drink in my eyes.
Yeah,
I took his head down and there's millions of them. I come up with some better ones than that.
Okay. When you're working against someone in the ring, besides obviously trying to hurt you, what's the worst thing someone could do when they're working you in a match?
Not listen. You can be stiff or snug, but, if we're not going to do something and you're going to try to do it, no. Okay, here's the fan one. So I was brought up to the NWC, and there's a rock and roll guy doing, radio station, and I'm supposed to wrestle him. And the promoter tells me, beat him up a little bit, protect the business, because he knew I would, but don't hurt him. I said, no problem. So no problem. Next thing you know, I show up at the arena, the Aladdin Arena. Jesse Hernandez is in the ring. Do you know Jesse?
Mm-mm.
Longtime trainer from down south. He was in the movie with George the Animal Steel, Ed Wood. So they brought a shooter out of Canada. You guys know, everybody knows what a shooter is.
Yeah.
I go, really? They go, yeah, the radio station flew him down. They go, okay. I go, tell Jesse, get out of there. Don't smarten him up. We're going to shoot. And the guy wasn't a bad guy, but I knew he wanted to shoot, and I was going to shoot. And, we'd see the way it worked out. And all the boys were getting ready to watch it, and I think Nails was there, Kevin Kelly, that night. So, he's like, hey, you better check him out. Don't worry, I got this. Then the guy comes and puts a hood on, a mask. And I don't want that, man. I want them to see your face when we shoot out there. Because if I take you down, I want the glory.
Yeah.
So, and then the rock and roll guys getting all cocky. I'm like, whatever, we'll go out there. We go out there in the shooter, and I'm going to shoot with them, and the shooter freezes up. So this is my fan story. He just stands there. I'm like, well, what's going on? He froze. He didn't move anything. I took him back, picked him up, ran him into the corner, took his shirt, ripped it down. And I didn't, happen to, pull it down like that. I turned around. Next thing you know, I noticed I had pulled his pants down to his ankles too. Everything. So I let him wrestle with himself to get his pants back up. I mean, they were all down by his shoes. It took about 30 seconds. Fans were going crazy. So I let him fix himself. And Buzz Sawyer style chops. And he's like, oh my God. And, like he rolls out, he leaves, he walks out. I tore the mask off. I mean, I wanted everybody to see him. So I turn around to the rock and roll guy, and he was supposed to come up on the ring apron and hit me with a guitar, something like that. He's up on the ring apron and he stops. And he's just standing there. So I had to go over and grab him, and I don't remember what we're going to do. He forgets everything. So I had to shoot on him. And I called Larry Powers in the ring, and we started wrestling, and there was these 2 tables set up, one with all these boxes of popcorn. And, like probably 100 boxes, the kind they would sell, and 100 sodas. I go, Larry, take me over, and I'm going to take a hip toss and knock the popcorn everywhere. He's laughing. I go, just. And we did. We knocked the popcorn. Then I go, okay, now let's go over to the soda table. We knocked the soda table over. I go, throw me into the popcorn machine. I'm going to break it. And I went and put my head through the popcorn machine. And, nobody was mad. The Aladdin loved it. They thought it was funny. I don't remember what the rock and roll guys said. It was their problem. But that was that one.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, the promoter's not mad at me for going too long on this finish, I hope.
Oh, no, you're fine. What's it called? Just go a little Buzz Sawyer on him. He'll deal with it. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
Was there a time where you were legitimately surprised by someone you were working with? Maybe they were way better than you thought they were, just like something about them you were like, wow, this is really like, this guy's just great.
Yeah. Couple times. That would have been Rob Van Dam and Sabu. We did a spot, and it had to do with hip toss, not the one where I gave him the hip toss in the hotel room. We had to do a hip toss, suplex. They were doing a lumberjack match, and it was just like, wow, that looked really good, and I never felt anything. Maybe I need to, and Rob Van Dam and Sabu, they've been known to be stiff, but it was awesome. But most of the time it was with where the guy was bad. Where I took this guy wrestled with a dog bone, and he goes, Johnny, I'm going to hit you with the dog bone. I'm, oh, that's fine. I'm going to hit you with the chain. And he hits me with the dog. He really hit me with the dog bone. I mean, it was really intense. Most of the time it was because they were bad. But Jason Styles was always excellent to work with, because he could do everything I wanted to do, and he would do whatever I wanted to do, and so but wrestling Buzz Sawyer was a competition. I wish I could find the tape where he would take me 30-minute matches, because Ole wanted us down there for the Starrcade Black Scorpion gimmick. He'd take me 30-minute matches. It was a competition, man. You had to step up or tap out. It was you had to step. It was competition. And that was like, wow. He moved like a cat. He would do a leapfrog. I wouldn't even have to bend down. Just all 6'2" of me went right underneath him. Leapfrog, flying elbow. He was incredible for all, for his obvious shortcomings. It was incredible to work with him.
Wow. That's actually a pretty good segue into this next one. Besides Buzz Sawyer, who has the hardest chop in the business, brother?
Well, nobody knows him, but the American Eagle, Paul Brown, didn't know how to work anything, so it was all straight out. Man, Paul Brown or probably me. Ask Jason Styles. I laid into his chest a few times. To me, honestly, the chop, I think it's so overdone. It's kind of fake, but it hurts. Someday when I meet you in person, I'll give you one. I'll show you. I mean, I can lay it in there.
Okay.
I don't do that Ric Flair style. I'll do overhand. I bet you Big Show. I bet you Big Show's is real. I met him before he debuted down at the Power Camp, and I didn't think much of him, but he was a nice kid. But boy, should have thought a lot of him, because he was the man.
One time I was at a All Pro Wrestling show, and you remember Dalip Singh? He ended up becoming Great Khali.
Yes, of course.
So he was against Max Justice
Yeah.
And Max Justice,
Really?
he did a moonsault, and Dalip or Kali, he rolled the wrong way. So Max Justice's knees went straight on his back, landed right on him. And he got up and he was pissed. And he immediately just starts with those giant frying pan hands just all over Max's chest. And I was like, oh my God. It was like, oh.
Max wasn't no wimp either, man.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a good guy. Do you ever talk to him?
Not since I worked at APW, but he was a nice guy every time I talked to him.
If you ever talk to Max Justice or Mike Modest, always send my best.
Absolutely.
2 good, solid workers that deserved more in the business. We were all together up in Stockton. So a story for the next time, working at WWF. And I thought Mike Modest, excellent worker, knew how to do everything. Max Justice, Mike, I called him Mike Diamond. Same guy, right?
I believe so. I don't know. I don't remember his other name.
Mike Diamond was his first name. So anyway, 2 guys that deserve more, that could have made it more in the business.
Yeah, I think if Modest, especially his style, if he was like hitting his peak right like now, where like the internet is like fully like, you can look up 20 different matches of every worker that's on the indie scene right now, no matter how big or small they are. I think it would have been a huge difference in his career.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, because back then they were all monsters. I think he was going to get a break. I don't remember what happened, but he was good enough, very much.
Besides Pat Patterson, has a booker tried to stiff you on money?
Oh, we were down in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Johnny Walker, I don't know if that's his real name, I don't remember. We're back there in this rodeo, and Buffalo Jim takes all Johnny's money for booking, for working, for this, for that. So I'm thinking, well, man, Buffalo's got about $700-800 tonight. I'm going to get paid good, couple $200-300 maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Early in the career, and I worked my match. I don't remember who, and then he puts up a steel cage, and Johnny Walker wrestles the Honky Tonk Man. Johnny been drinking all day long, and Honky Tonk Man's a tougher dude than anybody would know. Johnny goes out there, and Honky. And I'm in the back in a trailer, and I hear this over the microphone in the arena, Johnny Paine, get out here. Johnny Paine. I'm thinking, that sounds like Honky. He's calling me to come out there. So I run out there and gimmick. And I get in the ring and through the steel cage, and Honky goes, that son of a gun, he's shooting on me. Johnny froze up. He's probably drunk, and So Honky goes, shoot on him and take him down. So I did. And Honky lays it to him. So that story's for the next time. Then when I go to get paid, the commission calls me up in the I knew it was bad news. The commission calls me up in this office and goes, so Johnny bought an insurance policy. What's your address? And it pays 70% of whatever you were guaranteed. So what was your guarantee? I said $1,000. I just make it up a big number. I figured I'm going to get $700. No check ever came.
Yeah.
That's the Indies, man. That's back then. But WWF, $50. I had to throw that back in his face.
Well, I'm sure Jason's told you, the main stiffing he got was from WCW themselves. So
yeah. When we were at that TV match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But I always got paid well in Las Vegas by TC Martin and Buffalo Jim. Those guys, most of the time I was paid before I even went out and worked because they knew I was excited and there to do it. Paul Brown, the Eagle, when he was running shows. I'm sure, I can't remember, Kurt with Big Time Wrestling paid, always come through whatever he said he was going to do. Yeah, Incredibly Strange always come through with what they were going to do. But I've been on several independents where it's, okay, where's the promoter?
Yeah.
Nobody knows where he's at.
What's the hardest you've laughed at an indie show?
Oh, when we were in the back with Buffalo, and Jason Styles is there, and one of the girls that are going to go out and be a manager, she's getting really nervous, and Jason goes, "Johnny, look at her put her makeup on, lipstick, he's putting it all. I mean, it's all over the place." And they're calling her. Her time is to go out, do a run-in or whatever it was. She missed it. And so this guy comes back here and starts yelling at her. And it was just like all the misfits back there started fighting. And Jason and I just couldn't. I mean, it was just hilarious. And every time everybody had to wrestle, nobody knew anything. We draw the match together. So, I mean, that was where we were laughing.
Oh, I'm sure you've seen a lot of really bad ones, so this may take you a second. What's the worst gimmick you've seen?
That I didn't do?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, the gimmick I was most insulted with and did not believe in, and Virgil wanted to put himself over, was when he asked for the guys to put the hoods on. I thought that was out of line. It wasn't needed. He's all, I want to get heat. Well, hey, let's go out and get heat. But let's get it real. Well, I guess that can be considered real.
That's pretty cheap heat, though.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
It's just, not right. And, some of the worst gimmicks was when they wrapped Ronnie Reese up in the bandage and had him sit back there for 4 hours until he went on and he almost passes out in the ring.
Oh, man.
That had to be the worst. What was his name, that Sasquatch thing?
Was he the Yeti?
Yeah.
And then he came out and he kind of just like humped Hogan. It was very weird. It wasn't good.
He was about to faint, man. He was so hot. They'd wrapped him up for hours sitting back there. A gimmick that I thought was wrong. You remember Mantar?
Mantar, no.
Yeah, he was WWF. He wore the brown turtle-looking suit, and he had the big giant buffalo head that went over his head.
Oh, yeah, and he couldn't get in the ring.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't fit into the ropes.
Right. He was a good guy, and he probably could have worked, but they set him up for their own entertainment, man. It was like they buried him, and it was like awful. When he took it off and he did his thing, it was okay, but I mean, it was just terrible. And when Bob Holly did Sparky Plug, oh man, he didn't like that because that was a tough dude, and that was a real dude, and man, he didn't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was kind of a cool little gimmick, but oof, man, I'm glad
that was when everyone had to be something. It's like you're a race car driver, and you're a nurse, and you're a doctor, and everyone had to be like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone had to be an 8-year-old's fantasy of what they wanted to be when they grew up for some reason.
Yeah. And it probably got over a little bit, but then he got all pumped up, bleached his hair like Steiner did, and got over. So, I mean, I remember back when I was a kid watching the Mummy wrestle and the Wolfman, out of Mexican wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen all the gimmicks.
Any WWF, WCW, ECW guys that you worked with at a show or just worked at the same show as you that thought they were way better than the show and they showed it?
Well, the Ultimate Warrior, I got along with him. He goes to me. I was nobody wanted to talk to him. The Ultimate Warrior come back in the NWC. And a lot of guys were already put off by him. But I didn't know why, and and he'd come back there, and I guess he had to make friends with somebody, so he comes to me and he goes, "Hey, what's your gimmick? What's your name? Who trained you?" I told him, and he stops. He goes, "Are you kidding me? You made it through his camp, and you're still here?" He goes, "And you're one tough son of a gun." And he came out and watched my match, and told me some things he thought I could do different. And thought I should do it. He was totally respectful. So I hit it off with him. Then we were up at the Aladdin, and Virgil was number one as far as thinking he was the man. So the Warrior comes in, and he's all pissed off that his name's not on the marquee of the whole Casino.
Like outside on the casino.
Yeah. He's mad. And he asked the promoter for all the cash to go buy some spots. And he left. He drove out. He left. So we all had to get together to figure out what we could do to save the show. Because main event's gone. You got to offer refunds. We need to do something to pop. We talked about putting a wig on this big pumped up kid out of Southern Cal. The promoter didn't like that. Earthquake Ferris, my good friend, tries to make a joke and goes, let's put a wig on Johnny. And then nobody pops. And he looks at him. I go, Quake, that thing. He goes, I know. I just want to leave the room. So, yeah, man. And, you know, maybe the Warrior had a point. He said, I can't draw if you don't promote me. So he storms out. And, you know, I think we probably all got a little more stiff that night. Yeah. I don't remember, but yeah. But Virgil, you know, he was the one who was running his gimmicks, and he always, you know, working with Terry Funk. And man, you work with Terry Funk, you don't say a thing. You just do what he leads. Yeah. When I worked with Terry in a battle royale, it was like, you know, it was an honor. Yeah, that was something cool.
Yeah, when Jesus Cruz, who I had on the podcast before, when he was like 18, 17, or like 16, he was taping a big time wrestling show, like doing camera work for them.
Yeah.
And it was a show that Virgil was at, and he goes up to him and he goes, "You better not tape my match," to like this teenage kid. He's like, WWF's gonna sue you if you tape my match.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we wrestled in Antioch, we brought in Sergeant Slaughter, George the Animal Steel, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Honky Tonk Man, Iron Sheik, both Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, the Bushwhackers, Sabu. All of them were total professional. Sabu didn't feel well. It wasn't the Sabu that I had remembered that during that time. But the Road Warriors, they didn't feel well either. They just caught out of Japan. But Sergeant Slaughter, I mean, you don't get any bigger than that. But they're all gentlemen, all cool. So most of the time, it went well.
Nice. All right. So I know you're not the most touchy-feely guy as far as, you know, you grew up in the hard style here. But I always ask about the pure joy in pro wrestling. Now, I'm talking about the moments where when you remember them or when you experience them, you get the goosebumps. You're like, this is why I love this fucking sport. This is what I love about this. What part about pro wrestling is that for you?
Well, like I said, and I'll say it to anybody now, hey, I'm 53 years old. If you're over in the business, I don't care. We're all a mark. Because I never liked the fact that the boys would treat marks differently or wrong or down on them, man. I love sitting and talking wrestling. I love this. But when I got to meet, when I was a kid watching them come up, when I went to pick up the Road Warriors at the airport, that was, to me, that was cool. I got to travel with and stay with the Iron Sheik. That was the moment. When I got to go out on Monday Night Raw, Razor Ramon, Tatanka, Bam Bam Bigelow, and whoever the fourth one was waiting in between for the window for my dark match to go up through the Raw, the walkway and stuff. That was it. But you know what? Because you'll appreciate this, the independents, man, the indies were cool. That was to me wrestling. Territories, sitting and just talking with the fans. I didn't need to go out and party. That wasn't me. I wanted to talk about old wrestling stories, Ray the Crippler Stevens, you know, Pepper Gomez. When I got to meet Pepper Gomez, Alex Smirnoff, that was cool, man. And Pepper did a spot with me where he was a manager. And, you know, I was still really green and bully and, you know, and I saw Pepper couldn't walk. And so I went over and I helped him. And, you know, I go, Pepper, the ring's really bouncy. But don't worry. whatever you want to do, I'm gonna follow your lead. You're not gonna have an issue tonight. So something like that was pretty. Kenji Shibuya, when I worked with him that night with Jerry Monty, and working with some of the old stars like that was pretty cool. And that always meant a lot, especially if they treated you decent.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Because there was a big difference how the WWF stars would come in and other guys too. So.
Yeah. But there's always even there's a lot of guys that you always hear certain things about. Like a lot of people say things about Scott Hall and the way he acted in WCW, especially towards but like the whole time when he feuded with Larry Zbyszko was because Zbyszko gave him a shot early in his career. And he was like, I need to make sure I put Zbyszko over now that I'm like in the spotlight.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? So like, even in like cases where people talk so much shit about a certain person, even them, they have a moment where they're like, wait, but I gotta do something here,
That's cool. Yeah. So I gotta think if I ever came back and gave back and put somebody. Well, I did go on Facebook for my first time ever when it was first, it come out years ago. I know I'm older. And when I went on Facebook to make contact with the Navajo Kid, Steve Islas, Bobby Bradley, and all them, just to tell them, man, the time with you guys meant so much to me and was so special. I'm sorry I was stiff on you. I loved you guys. I hope you're okay with it. And man, it was nice to bond back with them because I wrestled Navajo Kid a lot out in Arizona. All the Indian reservations, they would a couple times they made me an honorary tribal person there at on the Indian reservations. Just had a great time, man. And those guys, that was like a territory time. So that was nice.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you being on the podcast. I definitely want to have you on again. So many great stories. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to get out there into the world?
Next time, now my memory will be, what do they say, jargoned a little bit?
Yeah.
I'll go a little further into them. I'll write down a couple of stories, but I'm just not going to use any of the foul language. That's just not my style. So I remember a couple times the Sheik would say, you don't need that cheap heat. We'll get over what she called it white heat, meaning like real heat. You don't need cheap heat. So, you get that cheap pop. Sometimes you had to. You put on a jersey from the high school you're wrestling at, you get over easy or something like that. Oh. I had one on one night, and for the high school, and Hawk and Animal were there, and they go, I think we're going to have to wear a jersey to get over. I go, I guess, well, I'm not wearing it. So I took it off and gave it to one of them, and man, but that was pretty funny.
All right, brother. Well, thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Hey, man. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate your time.